Welcome to Mystery Book Teasers. Our book teaser this week, I can give you a hint, as I always like to do, is a very popular series. Here we go. Let's see if you can guess the name and author of this book and win a prize in the LC. Monday. The human brain is supposed to be this amazing supercomputer that's capable of all sorts of incredible stuff. But if that's true, then I don't know why my brain is always making me do stupid things. It's actually a little annoying, because if you think about it, your brain's one job is to be smart. I guess it's my own fault for filling my brain with things that aren't important, like video games or cheat codes and theme songs to old TV shows. Because now there's no room for stuff that actually matters. The problem with the brain is that there's only a limited amount of room there. So eventually you run out of storage. And the reason it's hard for old people to learn new things is because their brains are just full. One of these days, they're going to figure out a way to add more memory. And when they do, I'm going to buy myself the biggest booster pack that I can afford. In the meantime, I'm trying to be real choosy about what I put in my brain. So when someone's telling me something that I don't need to know, I just try and block it out. When you're a kid, the thing that you use your brain for the most is school. And a lot of your brain power goes to memorizing useless stuff, like the names of vice presidents and words to preschool songs. One thing that's really inconvenient is that your brain is inside your head. So you have to take it everywhere you go. But if they ever figure out a way to deal with that issue, then school is going to be a whole different thing. I think it would be great if your brain could be at school learning while you're off doing things you actually enjoy, like playing laser tag with your friends or hanging out at the arcade. Then you could pick up your brain at the end of the day and get all caught up. For now, I guess we're stuck with the current situation where your body and your brain need to be in the same place. And if you're a kid, that means you're going to spend a big chunk of your time at school. My problem with that is how long the school day is. You're there for 7 hours, but you probably only spend 20 minutes a day on actual learning. And that's because most of your time is spent on stuff that doesn't have anything to do with education. Today in 5th period, we spent 0 time learning about history because a bee got loose in the classroom, and that pretty much killed the chance of anything productive happening. I wish everyone would stop fooling around and just get down to business once school starts. Because that way we could get the learning part over and be out of there by lunchtime. But I think they like to stretch things out and keep you there for as long as possible. The whole reason that school was invented in the first place is because back in the olden times, kids were causing too many problems at home while their parents were at work. So they created this whole system with textbooks and lockers and algebra and phys ed just to keep kids out of trouble for a few hours every day. You're in school from the time you're 4 until you're at least 18. And after you're done with your education, you have to get a job and work until you reach old age. So by the time you're through with all that, you're too tired to do anything fun. And if they really wanted to, they could probably teach you everything you actually need to know by the time you're 5 or 6. But I guess parents don't want to have to compete with their kids for good paying jobs. So they teach you a little bit at a time so you don't get too smart too quick. And sometimes they teach you stuff you can't even use. That's what's been happening at my school lately. I just took 3 months of Latin with a teacher named Mr. Layton. and it was my favorite class. But it turns out he didn't know Latin at all and was teaching us nonsense the whole time. When the school found out that Mr. Layton was a fraud, they fired him. So now, all I've got to show for the last 3 months of my life is knowing how to order a hamburger in a language that doesn't even exist. Mr. Layton isn't the only one teaching us stuff we don't really use. My social studies teacher is Miss Lackey, and this is her last year. So the only countries she teaches about are the ones she's planning to visit with her husband after she retires. And for our last homework assignment, she had us research which cruise ships have the best meal plans. Some of our teachers don't even bother trying to teach us anything at all. Miss Pritchard is supposed to be teaching us geometry. She uses her new smartboard for stuff like helping her pick out which breed of puppy to get. A few of the teachers are doing their best, but us kids, we don't make it easy for them. Mr. Rask tried teaching science the regular way for half the year, but nobody seemed interested. So he switched to teaching about gross stuff. And even though it makes science a lot more interesting, I don't think any of the information we're learning right now is going to help us get into a good college later on. I wish I didn't know half the stuff I've learned in Mr. Rask's class, because ever since we watched a video about microscopic parasites living on our skin, I can't stop itching. We don't even have an algebra teacher anymore. Mrs. Kwan went on maternity leave back in October, but they never found a long-term sub to fill in for her. So during fourth period, they just stick us in a computer lab and have us do this math game website, which is sponsored by a candy company. Now, everyone in my grade needs candy to do math. And when we took the standardized test last month, a bunch of kids brought jelly beans and bubble gum to help them count. I probably would have done a whole lot better on the test if I hadn't been sitting behind a kid who went through an entire jar of Gobsmackers. It wasn't just the math section that was hard, though. The reading section had a bunch of essays, and the science section had questions about stuff that we never covered in class. And there wasn't a single question about farts or burps. So when our school's test results came back, it wasn't a surprise that our scores were the lowest in the state. In fact, our scores were so bad, we made the news. A lot of parents were pretty upset, including mine. And I guess the superintendent was under pressure to make big changes because he fired our principal, Mrs. Mancy, and asked the old principal, Mr. Bottoms, to come out of retirement. I'm actually surprised Mr. Bottoms came back, because the way my older brother Roderick describes it, when Mr. Bottoms retired a few years ago, he went out with a bang. But I'm rooting for him the second time around, because based on my education so far, the only job I'm going to be qualified for is a cruddy middle school Latin teacher. And that is the end of your mystery teaser. Come on by the Learning Commons and give me your best guess. What is the title and the author of that book? And you'll win a prize. Have a good day. This is Miss Mustaine signing off.